I guess not. Okay, well, that's good. Anyway, our parents, Claire and Bruno Aaron, bought Benford Hall, and I was born in 1951. I am told that I lived the first 2 years of my life in Festival House, and that I would steal my cousin Ira's cookies right out of his hand as he walked down the big hallway. One time, I had disappeared. They finally found me in the dumbwaiter, where my sister Judy had safely stowed me away. In any event, the hotel was too big, cold, and expensive to heat all winter for us. Meanwhile, Rose, Menachem, Ira, and Charlotte moved to New Orleans, where our grandfather and our Aunt Molly and her family lived. Our mother also felt she wanted a quieter and more private place for us during the summer seasons. They then built a prefabricated home on the grounds, just a lawn and a small field away from Festival House, that way. Here we go.
That's 120 Walker.
I think it's 136.
140.
I thought it was 140 all the time, but then I saw the sign on your son's house.
126 right now.
Oh,
I think the numbers have changed. Anyway, our father researched how to build it and ended up being the contractor, while my mother changed its design to her own liking. So this is in the process of it being built, and that's a later picture after a porch was added, etc., etc. Anyway, so now we lived in the little house and spent time between there and the hotel we now call the Big House. Although the original purpose of Festival House was to create a place where any minority could overcome discrimination in finding a place to stay and visiting the Berkshires, and one that was economically feasible for many people, our parents wanted to be able to entice people to stay much longer than a weekend, which of course would make it more economically feasible. They felt that the Berkshires had such a beauty that many who came for the weekend would stay longer if there were enough attractions and activities to keep them there. There were 3 resorts in the area at the time that had full programs: Eastover in Lenox, the Jug End Barn in Great Barrington, and Oak and Spruce in Lee. All 3 catered to a young, single-age group who rarely, if ever, attended Tanglewood concerts. Our father categorized them as boy-meet-girl resorts with much drinking and partying. What our parents decided was to establish a total arts center and community that would be stimulating to more serious people, possibly older, and that would be unique to that area. The first step in that direction was our father's meeting with artist Anthony Tony at the suggestion of a friend. Tony lived in New York City with his wife Edna and their 2 daughters, and this is Edna on the right and Tony on the right, the bottom picture. And their 2 daughters, Adele and Anita, and this is a painting that Tony did of his daughters. Anita's the older one, Adele's the younger one. Tony had a degree in fine arts from Syracuse University and a master's and doctorate degree in education from Columbia University. He had studied at l'École des Beaux-Arts in Paris. He received many awards for paintings and was in collections at several universities and museums, including the Whitney. And these are 2 examples. That picture is of my parents, and that used to be in the lobby, I believe. And actually, it's them sitting in the lobby. And then this is a rendition, one of his renditions of Festival House. He was represented by the ACA Gallery in New York. When our father met him, he was teaching at the New School for Social Research. My parents offered him a free hand in creating a meaningful and diversified center for the arts. During his first season, his studio was in the basement. After that, he set up a studio upstairs in the carriage house, and his family lived in the hotel. Let's see. That's another drawing of Festival House. He had classes in life paintings, including still life and modeling indoors. Let's see. He also used the back porch of the hotel at times too, and taught landscape. Oh, anyway, that just was announcing the workshops. And this is one of the classes outside. Tony would also make, there was a constant, he would bring accomplished artists to lecture on the weekends who would stay for the week so the art students could spend time with them and watch them paint. There was a constant stream of these artists, including Jacob Lawrence, Moses Sawyer, and Philip Evergood. Student art was exhibited on the garden walls. And that's where the Italian gardens used to be from Bedford Hall days. Let's see. Tony would also make pastel portraits of the guests in the lobby as a further way to make income, and all of our family had ours done too. Children sometimes also attended classes, and this article in the Berkshire Eagle describes such a time. It's called Art in the Very Young. Last week, Madeline Aaron, age 8, and Adele Tony, 9, took part in the painting class conducted by Adele's father, Anthony Tony, at Festival House Lenox. They agreed to sketch from a live model, as other members of the class were doing, and stared hard at the young lady clad in a bright blue leotard. They opened their sketch pads, dipped brushes in paint, and worked with profound concentration for half an hour. Then they took off. Adult members of the class examined the pads curiously. On one was a brown bunny. On the other, a green tree. Anyway. The ACA Gallery in New York also sent paintings for Festival House to exhibit and sell. The Festival House had special art events and other socials and special art showings. There was also a room in the Lenox Library that was not being used, and Festival House arranged to use it to create the Lenox Art Gallery. There we go. That's the library over there, and I was just talking about that. Tony secured Klaus Oldenburg, an artist, to run it. Not only did Klaus hold parties until very late at night, but he usurped most of the space for his own art. Instead of those artists more well known, so they had to let him go. The library, meanwhile, liked the idea of the gallery and put that room to run its own gallery. So after that, our mother and a friend, Ella Lerner, opened a gallery in town. When our mother could no longer participate, Ella bought property, moved permanently to Lenox, and ran her own gallery, the Lerner Art Gallery, for many years until her death. I'm not sure. Did I say that the Lenox Art Gallery was the only one in town at that time? Well, I meant to say. Okay. At about the same time our parents started working with Anthony Tony, they decided to create meaningful summer theater for the Berkshires. There were 2 other theaters, one in Williamstown and one in Stockbridge, that put on mainstream popular plays of entertainment that our father considered unsubstantial. He noticed an ad in the New York Times of a group called the Drama Lab, which trained future actors and actresses. He contacted them with the idea of doing a summer theater at Festival House, and they agreed. A theater was set up in the Carriage House. 300 seats and a dimmer board were purchased from a theater that had just closed down. 2 directors and about 23 actors and actresses stayed at Festival House at no charge. A small admission fee helped defray some of the costs. Starting in July 1953, they held an international festival showing an American play. You can see this, the American play, the Greek one was Estrada, Spanish, House of Bernardo Alba, Madeleine of Chaillot from France, Crime and Punishment, based on the novel from Russia. The Berkshire Eagle considered it the most meaningful and outstanding theater in the Berkshires. However, there were problems. After the plays, it would sometimes take until 1 a.m. to take down the sets. It was noisy for the neighbors, there was traffic congestion and parking problems. The theater students also went to town dressed less conservatively than what Lenox was used to, at a time when women were given skirts to wear at Tanglewood if they weren't already wearing one. And so the theater lost its permit to run after that season. All right, let's see. The arts program became known as the Festival House Arts Workshop and is expanded to include instruction not only in painting, but in sculpture, ceramics, mosaics, jewelry, wood art, and leather craft. So this just explains it. Other instructors that returned for several years were David Brudos, ceramics, in this department at Endicott College in Beverly, Mass., and Yanni Siegel, jewelry professor at Bronx Community College, New York, and the New School for Social Research. There were also evaluation sessions, lectures, trips, and sketch groups. The classes were free to guests and also open to Berkshire residents and those vacationing in the area. They could be attended by day, week, or season. Reporter Wayne C. Smith wrote in the Berkshire Eagle, and the title was, Festival House is center of Berkshire's art life, former Morgan Mansion currently scene of many fine courses taught by leading artists. And from the text, he wrote, Festival House has become the most important of the art centers which operate in the Berkshires during the summer season because of its program of art classes, the quality of its teachers, its planning exhibitions, and its social activities. Judy and I also remember arts and crafts for children taught by Lillian Lipsett, where we made papier-mâché puppets, paper shellac jewelry beads, and more. They made sure we were busy. The facilities themselves were also added to for guests' rest and relaxation as it was affordable for Festival House to do so. By the time I was 3, a swimming pool had been built within the walls of what were once the Italian Gardens, and this is where some of the art was hung up along the walls. If you can see behind there. Not the art, but the wall. Our parents had gathered all the information needed so as to build it as inexpensively and as well as possible. Again, they were their own contractors, building a pool of 30 by 75 feet with a diving board in a depth as much as 9 feet. It had a good-sized apron, tables, chairs, lounges, and shuffleboards. The old gardener's tool shed from Benford Hall days became shower and changing facilities and a short-order grill. At the time, it was the only pool in town, and over time they advised other establishments in building theirs. They also later added a tennis court on the side of the back lawn. Again, they researched it themselves to limit the expense. It was of regulation size with a good but low-maintenance surface, and in addition, there were ping pong tables on the back porch. I was not always the ball, but